Hi everyone, welcome to Footy SA with me, John Casey. Great to have your company as we look back on the last 7 days in footy in South Australia and discuss the landscape of the code. A lot to look forward to on this show. We're going to relive the best moments from round 3 of the Hostplus SANFL, also look at games in round 1 of the women's competition. We'll cast our eye forward to round 4 to see what's going to unfold there in the Anzac Day round. I have got a big apology to make. I want to put my hand up. I've got something wrong and I'll get to that a little bit later. And we're also going to share with you a great sporting memories tour that you may be inclined to go and have a look at during History Month here in South Australia in May, involving a lot of the famous South Australian sportsmen at the North Road Cemetery. So stick around for that. I'm with the Advertiser's #1 football writer, Andy Capell, once more. AC, great to see you.
Good to be with you, Case.
What are we going to be reading about in the Tiser this week?
I'm going to touch on Cade Herbert's revival at Woodville-West Torrens. Obviously, about this time last year, he was the victim of a tackle gone wrong from Harry Grant, which Harry Grant got 5-game suspension for, a dangerous tackle. Had a really bad neck injury, as you know, weren't quite sure whether he'd be able to play football again. He's reeled off back-to-back best on-ground performances for the revived Eagles, who are sitting at 3-0 after their great win against Sturt on Sunday.
Yeah, great game, wasn't it? And yeah, a lot to look forward to. I'll tell you one thing that caught my eye was some action from the Under-18 Talent League in the women's competition on Saturday. Central District's Sergi celebrating kicking a goal in style. Take a look at this. It was shades of former Adelaide United star and now Socceroo Nesteri Nkunda's goal-scoring celebration. And it got me thinking, do the SANFL players need to work on their goal-scoring celebrations? Backflips are fantastic. Maybe running to the crowd, pointing to someone with a little bit of fun. Maybe they need to ham it up, AC. What do you think about that?
Oh, look, I like it, Case. I love the vibrancy in the local competition. Lockie Hosey's very good at his celebrations, as we know, for Glenelg, so I'm all for it.
We need to get them involved, don't we? And we'd love to get your feedback as well. Drop us a line in the comments section on our YouTube page. We'd love to hear what you've got to say. Maybe you've got something that you'd like us, a question you'd like us to answer, or someone you'd like to promote as well, whether it be your local league or people who might need a plug as well. So, and speaking of plugs, if you'd like to sponsor the program, well, we're certainly open to that as well. So make sure you get involved if you can. So now to the action from round 3 of the Hostplus SANFL. Got underway on Friday night at the Parade, AC. A 7-goal third quarter from Norwood really got them home against South Adelaide.
Yeah, that was the key, wasn't it? I think in the first quarter, the Panthers led 2 goals 5 to 1 goal straight from the legs, and Norwood needed that win. We spoke about them as being probably at the start of the season anyway. We've seen what the Eagles and Glenelg have done in recent weeks. We thought Norwood would be Sturt's biggest challenger. Zip 2 before Friday night's game. So Harry Boyd's out for a few weeks with a broken hand, another big loss for Norwood. So they fought back in that third quarter, as you said, got over the line by close to 4 goals. Just a must-needed win. And look, South didn't lose any admirers. They were quite gallant in that defeat. But the bottom line is, if Norwood was 0-3, they'd be in big trouble. So they needed that victory.
Yeah, it certainly was. And the Redlegs seem to have unearthed a real find in teenager Josh Murphy. Kicked 2 goals, including this impressive effort we're taking a look at now. He's played a handful of VFL games with Collingwood last year, was leading goal kicker at North Albury last year, 64 goals, including a bag of 11. He looks ready-made for the SANFL.
He does. It's important he stands up, and Tristan Binder kicked 3 goals as well. Of course, Jackson, we speak about Harry Boyd, but Jackson Callow also out with a hand injury, got hurt in that first game against Sturt. He's their best key forward, even though we know Binder can play, and obviously Murphy's got a bright future as well, but Callow's their real focal point. They need him back. He might be back in a week or 2. So a couple of big outs for Norwood early in the year, but they just got to find wins at the moment.
I was also impressed with South Adelaide's Jack Talon. He's only 20 years of age and he's back with the Panthers after 2 seasons playing with Fremantle. Didn't get to play an AFL game there while he was on their list, but he led Peel Thunder's goal scoring last year in the Waffle, and I think he's going to be another one to make his mark on the SANFL this year. He's a dangerous forward, can kick goals, can be a game breaker.
Yeah, he's battled early in the year. He struggled to hit the scoreboard, but we know what talent he's got. They need that X factor in their forward line. Arnie Shoemaker from St Kilda was very good with 27 disposals, his best game so far. And Arlo Draper also had 27. He took a year off to travel overseas last year, obviously the brother of Sid Draper from the Crows. he kicked the goal and also played really well. So they need some of their bigger names to stand up, the Panthers.
Yeah, good to have Draper back, and the Draper boys both playing well
Yes.
on the weekend. Now, you were down at the Bay to see a thriller between Glenelg and West Adelaide. What did you make of it?
Well, Glenelg did what they did against Norwood in round 2. In that game, they were 4 goals down at three-quarter time, having only kicked 2 goals in the first 3 quarters. Steamed all over the top of Norwood in the last quarter. On the weekend, West were the better team for 3 quarters. At quarter time, with a slight breeze, they led 5-6 to 2 goals straight. They got 27 points in front in the second quarter. Could have been more in front. They missed a lot of very gettable opportunities in front of goal. The Bays hung in there like they always do. 3-quarter time, 17 points down. And Liam McBean, like he's done so many times before, stood up. He had 2 goals at 3-quarter time and played quite well. Kicked 3 in the last quarter to finish with 5, including a couple from outside 15 metres. He was a difference maker. It was a testament to Glenelg's belief after the game. The new coach, Matty Clark, was like very relieved, but knowing they've got a lot of work to do. He's changed the game plan. They're still finding their way. But the will to win, led by senior players like Liam, Lockie Hosey, his key forward sidekick, of course. Corey Lyon stood up. Matty Allen was tagged all day by Westies captain Sam Frost. I think he had 7 touches to 3-quarter time. Clarkey threw him forward in the last quarter, kicked 2 crucial goals, and they got over the line by 3 points, a couple of points. But they kept coming, Westies. Twice Glenelg got a goal and a half in front, and Westies pegged them back. And right at the end, when West got a goal, the siren went basically as soon as the goal had gone through. And then they sort of waved, the timekeepers waved to the umpire saying it's not over because it just blew briefly. A bit of chaos for a little while. Players from both sides weren't sure what was happening. One of the field umpires, Ben Williams, ran to the sidelines to confirm that the match wasn't over. We were thought there was about 1 second left, we were told, and then the match restarted with a ball up. And there was about 5 seconds left. There was a couple of little stages where West could have got a clearance, kicked the ball forward. If there was a mark, they still might have won the game. So a bit of late drama at the Bay, but a really good game of footy. Glenelg get the points, but West take a lot of credits from that.
Yeah, and I think a great contest, and it's so tight as well that it's good for the competition. And Liam McBean, look, he's building a body of work down there at Glenelg that's Hall of Fame level, isn't it?
No question.
The goals, as you mentioned, the last quarter, the way he goes about it in the ruck and continually kick goals when out-bodying his opponent when he's in the forward line doing the ruck work's outstanding. And he's really going to be one of the favourite sons down at Glenelg for a long time, remembered for a long time after he finishes his career.
Look, he's a great of Glenelg, no question about that. He will be in the Hall of Fame. He leads, from example, being skipper as well. In big moments when something has to be done, he does it. But he's going to go down as one of the Glenelg Football Club's all-time greats.
And West Adelaide's Nathan Bassett said post-game that he thought his team's ahead of where they needed to be at the moment. And full credit to him and the way that they've gone about it as well. I mean, they dominated the inside 50 count in that game, 61-38. As you say, led by 17 points at 3-quarter time. Could quite easily have gone on and won that game. And while they didn't go on and win the game, they've got a win and a loss and a draw in 3 games this year. They must watch at the moment.
Oh, and 7 more scoring shots as well. It's funny, after the game, obviously very disappointed they didn't get the 2 premiership points, but he was really pleased with the way they played. He said, we play like this more often, we're going to win more games. And he did say, back to your point just then, that he feels they're ahead of schedule. Obviously took over a club that hasn't played finals since their last premiership in 2015 and have come from a long way back. I think they've been bottom 6 of the last 7 seasons. They're showing real signs of growth. Chris Burgess, who's been so important up forward, played down back to help their young defence on the weekend against Hosey and McBean and other players down there. But he was very solid down back. So he's going to be one of those guys who's used as a swingman, as much as for what he does on the field, but also his teaching of West's young backline.
I like that style of coaching. We're seeing a number of coaches do it with players this year where they do play significant time in defence and in attack as well. Ozzie Kitchke at Central District's done it this year when he's gone forward when they needed a forward to take a mark. And I often thought that coaches can be a little bit slow to react in that area. They don't want to change things around too much. I'd rather they change something, be proactive and do something. And that's obviously where Nathan Bassett is at, given the personnel he has at his disposal.
And we're seeing that with Matthew Clark at Glenelg as well. Lockie Hosey obviously has played 98% of his career as a key forward. He has spending quite a bit of time in the midfield in the centre bounces this year as well. So there's a change up there. They're using his athleticism around the ground.
And Nick Stevens as well going forward, kicking a first goal for the Bays as well. But well, Channel 7's cameras were out at Ex-Convenience Oval on Saturday to see Central District and the Adelaide Crows both chase their first win of the season. Terrific game, and for the third straight time, the Dogs led in the fourth quarter but couldn't seal the deal. So that's starting to become a worrying sign for Paul Thomas, the coach.
It led every change, didn't they, on the weekend again, and Adelaide came home over the top of them. Sid Draper, we touched on, was outstanding. The Doggies are very, very competitive, again, like they have been under Paul Thomas. I just feel like they lack match winners. When the game's on the line, who's going to stand up and be that match winner? Last year, Cade Dittmar was influential in the centre square. Obviously, he's moved to Norwood. When Central started last year, so Manny Liddy was influential in the centre square as well. Got picked up by Port Adelaide in the mid-season draft. He's now out injured. But I just wonder who's going to be the guys who stand up at Central and say that we're going to win this game.
Yeah, well, Kyle Presbury, the captain, didn't play on the weekend because of a calf injury, and they certainly missed his leadership. But you just got the impression, after they'd given up a 4-goal lead to North Adelaide and then surrendering a 2-goal lead in time on at West Adelaide when that finished in a draw, you wondered how they would feel in a tight finish with Adelaide, who had been good at closing out games. If they might get a little nervous, it's understandable that psychologically you wonder, oh no, is this going to happen again? So they've got some work to do there, but they showed plenty of fight. They also showed plenty of skill as well, which is illustrated by this terrific goal kicked by Anzac. Lakoviak even managed to bounce it over one of the SANFL's tallest men in Kieran Strawn. I also like the look of 19-year-old Talon Rosenzweig as well. He kicked a game-high 3 goals. Hit 19. He's got mid-season draft written over him, I think, all over him at the moment, AC.
He's got real talent. And Luca Whitelam obviously made the state team the week before. He played well. And Josh Faye, the recruit from interstate, he had 26 disposals. He's been impressive early in the season. Yeah,
kicked a couple of goals as well, Josh Faye. 7 games he played with the Giants a couple of years ago. But he looks like a talent as well. He saved a goal on the line. Kicked a couple of goals, as I mentioned. He's a high IQ player. He knows where to be to find the ball. So he had a great game. You mentioned Sid Draper. He looked fast. He looked strong. He looked aggressive, back to his best after an injury-interrupted start to the season. So that's promising signs for Adelaide.
We know he can play. He was a gun at South Adelaide through his junior career and for SA under-18. So he just needs a good run at it. That's a great result for Adelaide. The fact that they're not using him at the moment, he's developing nicely in the state league competition. I'm convinced he'll be a very good AFL player.
Yep, number 4 draft he was taken at. Chase Jones was all class again as well, 24 disposals and 2 goals. He brought plenty to the table, was really impressive. But Riley O'Brien was probably Adelaide's most dominant player. Not only did he win the hit-outs, 42 hit-outs, he had 22 disposals, 8 clearances. But it was his work with his teammates that impressed me just as much, AC. He would talk to players. He was instructing players at quarter time, at half time, at 3/4 time, even post-game. He's having conversations with younger guys, and you can see him just showing them body work, where to stand, how to move, these type of things. He's almost a coach on the field as well, and a super guy to chat with as well.
He's fair. He's an amazing leader. As you said, he dominates the SANFL. When he plays, you know the opposition ruckman's in for a really tough day, and the Crows are going to probably win the clearances. They love the fact he puts his head down. No, he's obviously fighting for an AFL spot every week, but he dominates the local league, and he's a terrific leader for that club.
Might have got 3 Magarey medal votes, I think, in that performance against Central District. And an added bonus this week, you're going to be able to check out right here exactly what happens in the day of a life of a SANFL commentator and how Channel 7 go about pulling the game together. Behind the scenes sneak peek, rare inner sanctum access. You'll see us, all the boys with Mark Soderstrom and Rhett Bigland's there as well. You might even get a peek inside the OB van where the great director Guy James does all his magic, and Vinny, our producer, as well. It takes a whole team to bring together the whole SANFL coverage. You'll be able to see what we have for lunch as well, and maybe get some insights. Just go behind the scenes. I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. Jerry Zimmer, our producer, has done an outstanding job. Was working very hard getting all the bits and pieces that you can enjoy in our special feature. 2 games were played on Sunday. At Alberton, Port Adelaide made the early running before North finished over the top of them, kicking 9 goals to 3 after half-time. Super effort by the Roosters.
Yeah, it is. Port's been handicapped a fair bit by injuries at AFL level, haven't they? So they had a strong midfield yesterday with Watkins and Brodie back in the team, but they're just lacking numbers at the moment, and North needed that win. an interesting story out of Prospect, of course. Oliver Franco, son of Josh, the new coach, outstanding again. I think he had 31 touches and heaps of tackles and clearances as well. So he's really developed this year.
Yep. Charlie Dickerson, 18-year-old, he
Impressive.
impressed. 4 goals. The Roosters had 100 more disposals than Port Adelaide. Now, Port had 403 disposals in game 1 against Glenelg and didn't use the ball all that well. So they've obviously decided to change their MO. But to have 100 more disposals for North Adelaide, good signs. And obviously Josh Franco is having an immediate impact down there.
Yeah, they've got a good midfield. Angus Schumacher obviously is a star. And I love Cody Ruck down in defence. He had 27 touches and he takes a lot of marks as well. So they are. I think Josh was under no illusions of the job at task this year. He's sort of trying to build their next premiership team. So there's obviously really good experience with Schumacher and Wig and Mitch Harvey, who was very good again on Sunday. But he's trying to get that young talent to come through to build their next flag team. So you know it's not going to be an instant fix. He's not looking for that. He's trying to get those young kids through. And you touched on Dickerson. I know Josh at the start of the year rated very, very highly. Kicked 4 goals as a small forward. So he's also on AFL watch down the track, isn't he? Because we know how much AFL clubs love those small goal-kicking forwards.
Indeed. In the other game on Sunday, Woodville-West Torrens, well, they spoiled Sturt's party. They unfurled the premiership flag at Unley. Terrific game. And look, Sam Jacobs has got the Eagles going places at the moment.
Well, it's amazing. At quarter time, Sturt led by 3 goals, 12 scoring shots to 4, 5-7 to 3-1. So you thought, you know what? Of course, there was a late withdrawal, a very important one. Tom Lewis, last year's McGarry Medal winner, late withdrawal with a minor calf strain. So that immediately gave the Eagles more hope. But to come from 3 goals down at quarter time, dominate the second quarter, find themselves 3 goals in front. In the last quarter, they were 20 points up, and Sturt, as we know, just kept coming. And it became a ding-dong battle at the end, didn't it? It went for 33 minutes. The last quarter, Liam Puncher, the former Sturt player, took a very significant intercept mark in defence in the dying minutes against his former club. And then, as I said, they just fought tooth and nail to hold the ball in Sturt's inside 50, not let it get out, to hang on for what really is a famous victory, given the fact Sturt lost only 1 game last year. And we know the injury troubles that the Eagles had last season. At one stage, they had, I think, 26 senior players on the injury list. So they've got a lot of those guys back. And to win that game and be 3-0 is a fantastic start to the year for Sam Jacobs and his troops.
And another big tick for the SANFL, the count up clock doesn't spoil a game. And that's what we've seen with both in the Glenelg West Adelaide game and the Sturt Eagles game as well. Have the clock counting up. No one knows how long to go, and we get an exciting finish. Connor Ballenden kicked 5 goals for the Eagles. Riley Knight had a good afternoon as well, 22 disposals for him. And you've spoken about Cade Herbert, and you're going to be talking about him and a focus on him in the Advertiser this week. Look, he looked really impressive again. It's a terrific story.
Outstanding, York Peninsula boy. Unlucky to miss the draft when he played for SA's under-18s a couple of seasons ago. To reel off back-to-back best on ground performance, he was a standout against the Crows in round 2. He's got a bright future. He's just got footy nous. So it'll be interesting to see where that sits in the mid-season draft and beyond. He's only 19 years of age. So, yeah, we'll see how that sits.
As you mentioned, Sturt without Tom Lewis, so he can cut them some slack. They've got a few good players out with injury. Casey Voss is another at the moment. Will Snelling picked up the slack, though. He was good on his return from concussion protocols, 23 disposals and 9 clearances. And love the work of Marty Frederick. Something exciting is going to happen when Marty Frederick is around the ball. Kicked this tremendous goal as well. 19 disposals, 7 tackles, and he put in another fine performance for the Double Blues. And a shout out to goal umpire Steve Murphy as well, his 400th SANFL game on the weekend in that game, and always does a good job wherever he is.
It's a great effort to be around that long, isn't it? No question about that.
So confirming all the results from round 3 in the Hostplus SANFL, as you can see, very even competition. 3 of the 5 games decided by less than 10 points. And we take a look at the ladder. The Eagles and Glenelg undefeated on top. Central and Port, the only teams without a win, but the Dogs in particular are much better than their record suggests. The SANFL women's competition got underway on Saturday, a couple of double headers there and some exciting scores as well, close finishes, and look, a great way to start the season.
And South Adelaide again showed how strong they're going to be this season with a really good victory. So their women's program is just outstanding. it's the sort of the mantelpiece that other clubs are sort of following. So hopefully that continues. I know how seriously South takes their women's program, but all clubs have invested heavily in that in recent years, so other clubs are starting to catch up to some degree.
Panthers are a real measuring stick in the women's competition. Amazingly, in the Sturt Eagles game, the Double Blues kicked the first 5 goals of the game and the Eagles kicked the last 5. So that was an interesting result there. Central too good for North. West Adelaide won a thriller against the Tigers and got the reverse of what happened in the men's. And as you say, South Adelaide, well, they looked every bit the reigning premiers as they accounted for Norwood in convincing fashion. Look, as our name suggests, Footy SA is all about football here in South Australia. We'd love to have your input as well. Drop us a line in the comments section below on our YouTube page or check us out on the socials. Anything you'd like to discuss. Happy to answer your questions if we can as well. And we had a question from a viewer, Riley, who posed the question, and thanks for reaching out, Riley. Always good to hear from you. Can the Eagles, under Sam Jacobs, win the flag?
Well, what we saw at Unley Oval on Sunday, they can, can't they? Kobe Much hasn't played a game this year. Adam DeLoyer is still out injured as well. So they've got some good troops to come back into the team. That was a real test for the Eagles against Sturt. The corresponding fixture last year, of course, I know they had injuries, but they lost by over 100 points.
Yes.
And I know internally, I saw Matty Goldsworthy at the club on Friday night. Well, there to host a West Torrens Cricket Club function, and he was saying we're so looking forward to this game. It's going to be a real test of where we're at. I think he was hoping to be super competitive to win the game the way they did. They're right in contention.
Yeah. Great stuff by Sam Jacobs. And I read in the Advertiser that at the end of the game, he actually wrote the number 126 on the board in front of the players, and that represented the 124-point loss from the corresponding game last year and the 2-point win this season. Made up 126. That's how big the turnaround has been. So Riley, maybe they can win the flag as well. Just getting away from the SANFL for a moment, I wanted to chat quickly with you about the Zach Butters scenario because, look, regardless of how it all unfolds and the $1,500 fine, whether it stands or not, the one thing that I can guarantee is that the AFL are going to milk any controversy as long as they can. They won't necessarily make the right decision, but I'm sure that their first point, where they start, their starting point, is how can we make people continue to talk about this for as long as we can? So whether it means not doing the right thing, stretching it out as long as they can, not doing the obvious thing that might be suggested, I just get the impression that that's where they start. Every controversial topic seems to be how long can we extend this in the media landscape? And they've done it again here. And of course, as you know, AC, there's only one thing worse than people talking about you, and that's people not talking about you. And I think that's where the AFL come from.
Perhaps. We've got history, obviously, when the AFL fixture is released in October, November, they drip feed, certain games out. Instead of one big release, it sort of rolls out over a 2-week period. So there's history of that. And even the cutting into the cricket season now with the matches starting at the beginning of March, and we know they finish so late. So there's certainly a monopoly on the market. In the Zach Butters case, I'm not sure how much truth is to that, given the fact I think the publicity the AFL has got from this has been pretty poor, to be honest. It's taken a week. Obviously, Port's appealed it, which will be heard at 4:30 on Monday. But to me, it's a he said, she said type scenario. You've got to back Zach Butters in on this case because I'm sure him and Ollie Wines aren't going to fabricate their side of the story when they fight it so heavily, given the fact the fine's only $1,500.
Yes.
So that's a drop in the ocean in the AFL. It's more about his reputation. So, look, I've got to be in the Zach Butters camp on this one. I think there may have been just a misinterpretation of what was said, but to drag on for a week, I don't think it paints the AFL in a great light, to be perfectly honest.
No, but we are talking about them, and that's what they want. And how convenient that the only audio for the entire game is the 8 seconds that everyone wants to hear. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me at all. But anyway, we're about talking glass half full of football in South Australia. And let's admire some of the work by the 4 South Australian boys who were part of the AFL Academy team who took on Richmond's VFL side in Melbourne last Saturday. Gabe Patterson, Jack Gordon, Ethan Herbert and Cale Matthews-Hampton all had their moments. So congratulations to those up-and-coming prospects. The future of football here in South Australia, and it's a credit to the SANFL, their junior programs and the way that they streamline them and give opportunities to get these youngsters where they want to go is fantastic.
Well, the new $25 million high performance talent facility down at West Lakes, of course, opened late last year. And I've been through that. I'm sure you have too. That's just an amazing facility to really help these kids develop.
Yeah. Let's turn our attention to round 4 of the Hostplus SANFL coming up. Anzac round, always a great round of football. It gets underway with 2 games under lights on Friday, April 24. Traditional rivals Norwood and Port clash at the Parade, and the Western Derby between the Eagles and the Bloods get us underway. North and the Crows do battle on Saturday, along with the traditional grand final rematch. This time, Sturt hosts Glenelg, and we finish on Sunday with South hosting Central. AC, Port under the pump as they head to the Parade to face Norwood.
They are. We know these games, you normally throw the form out the window to some degree, but Port has a lot of injuries at AFL level, so they're not fielding their best team. Norwood at home, they've got to make the most of these opportunities. You'd think Norwood would get up there.
The Redlegs have won their last 5 meetings between these teams and 9 of the last 10. I think that pattern might continue on
last
Friday
year, remember,
night.
the last game last year, Norwood and Port were fighting for a final spot, and Port were 5 goals in front.
5 up,
and Norwood came home hard and obviously got within a kick of making the grand final.
Yeah, amazing finish. Look, a great matchup, the Eagles and West Adelaide. So the Eagles are flying, and West Adelaide, well, they're not far behind.
Well, at the start of the year, you would have thought this is an easy win to Woodville-West Torrens, but I was super impressed with what West Adelaide showed, not only their game style and the talent, but also the character of their team on the weekend. So this looms as a really good contest now.
Yep, and they've split their last 6 games, these teams, and West won when they last met at Morn Team Kia Oval last year, so it should be an entertaining affair. Last start winners, North and the Crows at Prospect on Saturday. That looks like an interesting clash as well.
Absolutely. We're not sure, each week what sort of level of team that the Crows and Port are going to field, but the Crows should get some players back at AFL level this week, which will help their SANFL team. So another game that's hard to call.
One player that Crows won't have is Charlie Edwards, who debuted on the weekend at the AFL level, 20 years of age, straight into the centre, had an impact. And this is another area that really frustrates me. Charlie Edwards has been one of the Adelaide Crows' best players in the SANFL for 2 years now and just can't get a game. And I know you don't gift games to players, and I'm not suggesting you do that, but when a player has a body of work and he's a young player, how AFL teams, and not just the Crows, but every AFL team, can't find a game for these youngsters at some stage during the season to see if they're up to it. You're never going to know. And to have someone on a list for years and never give them a game, to me, is just ludicrous. And whatever the KPIs or the methodology that the AFL teams use needs to change, because they're getting it wrong. Edwards steps in and does a fantastic job, and he may be in the team for the rest of the season. Well, we all knew that he was that good. How come we all know that and the AFL teams can't give these guys a chance to show their best?
Well, we've been calling for Edwards to play AFL all season. Billy Dalling's another one.
And last season,
emergency on the weekend, and obviously he's another good player. I guess it comes down to team balance, and you still got to drop someone to put someone in. The AFL clubs, certainly with the SANFL, like to actually get them to sort of develop their games in numerous ways, and we're seeing that with Sid Draper at the moment. So when they are picked to play AFL, they're ready to go straight away. We saw that with Charlie Edwards in an important game against St Kilda on the weekend. He was outstanding. Yeah,
really terrific performance. So the grand final rematch, how do you see that unfolding?
Well, I've done some research, Case. And since 2023, so 3 and a bit years ago, when Glenelg and Sturt have dominated, guess how many games those 2 clubs have won? Clearly the most in the competition.
The most in the competition.
Who's won the most out of those 2 in that period?
They'd be very close, wouldn't they? Because they both had tremendous records. And Sturt only losing 1 last year. Maybe I'll lean toward the double blues.
They both won 52.
Wow.
Would you believe? So it sets up a clash of the Titans
for
the Anzac Day clash. Sturt will start favourites, but the fact they lost to the Eagles on Sunday and Glenelg is flying really adds some spice to this game.
Sure does, doesn't it? Look, Sturt won all 4 clashes last year. They've won 7 of the last 10. Glenelg hasn't won at Unley since 2022, so you think that there's a good opportunity that drought may break as well. And we finish round 4 down at McBean Stadium on Sunday, the biggest road trip in the SANFL. Central District's heading down to Noarlunga. I think it's about 58 kilometres is the one-way trip. It's a long way to go if you don't get the result, though, isn't it?
It is a big ground too, which suits obviously Central as much as South Adelaide, the fact they play at Elizabeth. But again, to play finals this year, South has to win its home games.
Yeah.
I'd favour South, but as we said earlier, Central always very competitive.
Yeah, well, the Dogs have won their last 5 games between these teams. It's been 3 years since the Panthers won at home against Central, so there's another drought to break as well. So as always, get to a SANFL Hostplus game if you can, or check it out on the SANFL Now live stream, where you can watch the game from the comfort of your armchair, your man cave. You were watching the end of the game for between Sturt and the Eagles yesterday?
I was at home yesterday afternoon on a day off, but watching the last quarter very closely. Thrilling finish. It says a lot about the Eagles, where they're at this year, more about them. Sturt, we know, are going to be there when the whips are cracking, but the Eagles, maybe they are the real deal.
Exciting commentary team with SANFL Now as well. The boys and girls are all passionate about it and love their work, so check them out. And speaking of the women, it's all 4 games are being played on Anzac Day Saturday. It's an early start for the Sturt Glenelg clash at Thomas Farms Oval. Just note the first bounce there at 9:30 a.m. North host Norwood, West and the Eagles play at Richmond, and South Adelaide heads to Elizabeth. So good games coming up in the women's. So great to look forward to some great games over the Anzac Day weekend. Now, I wanted to point out this is not a long weekend in South Australia, AC. New South Wales, WA and the ACT all have a public holiday on Monday. The rest of Australia doesn't. Now, Peter Malinauskas, our Premier, has done some amazingly good things, but that just doesn't seem right, that there's no holiday on the Monday to recognise Anzac Day. Yeah,
it doesn't when it falls on the Saturday. We've had quite a few holidays recently, Adelaide, Carper and Easter as well. Personally, I work public holidays, so I'm not too fussed about it, Case.
It doesn't make much difference to you. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, Sporting Memories Tours is something that I wanted to point you in the direction of, because it's History Month in South Australia in May. And the North Road Cemetery, which is just near the Prospect Oval, the opposite side of North Road, just a little bit closer to the CBD. We've got the details on the screen where you can make a phone call or send an email and find out where you can get involved. Every Wednesday, they're going to be conducting tours in May. You can check out grave sites for Clem Hill, who set Australian and South Australian records. He's in the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame and also has that statue at Adelaide Oval. Of course, William Ashley McGarry is a famous SANFL name. He was a first-class cricketer for South Australia as well, and he really changed the way the SANFL was done by wiping out all the dangerous play and the rough play and the instigation of the McGarry medal. Hayden Bunton Sr. is recognised here in this tour. He won 3 Brownlows and 3 Sandover medals as well, a legend in the Australian Football Hall of Fame. And even Norman Norrie Claxton, we know about the Claxton Shield in baseball. Well, he's actually played in 2 premierships with SANFL as well at North Adelaide, was involved in cycling and cricket as well. Robert Laidlaw puts these tours together at the North Road Cemetery. As I say, details are there. Get involved, go and check it out. It'll only take 90 minutes or so for you to get around and have a look, and you will certainly enjoy it. I can thoroughly recommend it. You get involved. Look, we'd love to have your input as well. If you've got a topic you'd like for us to discuss, then drop us a line in the comments section on our YouTube page. Check us out on the socials as well. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we're everywhere. So get involved. We'd love to hear what you've got to say. And as always, today we'll finish with our Over the Fence segment. Now, this is where you can get involved. If you'd like us to chat about something, a hero in your local league or something that's happened, then let us know, because we're happy to chat anything you'd like to. And on this occasion, well, I've got to put my hand up and apologise. I may have got something wrong, and I've been told that I needed to do a little bit better. So I want to put my hand up, because last week I suggested that perhaps Tom Scully and Chris Burgess might be, I said might be, the best 1-2 forward punch in the SANFL. Now, here is the message I received from Liam McBean and Lockie Hosey post-game on Saturday. And I guess I have to say that these 2 guys are the measuring stick. They were pretty happy to remind me that I was a little bit premature going off and taking that mantle from them. So, Hose, Beanie, my apologies. You're still the best, and go Tigers. But a lot of fun. I'm glad to see they're watching the show as well, AC.
It's fantastic. And like, they're definitely the best 1-2 key forward combo in the SANFL case. I'm surprised.
He's a midfielder.
I'm surprised you suggested otherwise.
Burgess is a defender. I got it all right.
I love those two boys, and they're influential on the weekend. And look, I also got a shout out from Liam at the Glenelg's 2024 best and fairest count when the Bays famously beat Norwood in that grand final. The fact that I suggested just before the finals that it was going to be a Norwood Sturt grand final, and Glenelg came over the top. So it's good to see that Liam's keeping us on our toes.
They say they don't read the press, but they seem to know everything that's in there when it's
correct. They love it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, a lot of good fun. That's what it's all about here in the SANFL, and we hope you've enjoyed the show as well. Footy SA is here for you, and we look forward to your company again soon.